Hey, okay. It's my manifesting series. Series led me back to love. So let's talk about being in partnership and manifesting a harmonious relationship. First and foremost, there are two people in a relationship, or if you're, polyamorous, there are other people in that relationship. All is good, right? It's whatever your preference is. You have to accept that once you enter into a relationship, you are manifesting together. If it's something between the two of you, you're manifesting together, and so that's why it's really important for people to be really clear on if something is right for them, a relationship is right for them before it gets too serious. Because in those moments, it's going to be difficult to pull out of it when you realize, oh, we're not manifesting the same result. So I think it's important to know how a partner or spouse in particular, how they create outcomes and what their approach is. And while it doesn't need to be your approach, you do need to have some common goal. There needs to be a coming together to discuss, okay, this is the outcome, whatever you're trying to do. Maybe you're trying to buy a house. Okay, what's your desired outcome? And there needs to be overlap in that, or your manifestations will battle each other. I used to think prior to getting married that, oh, well, my spiritual journey is my own, so my manifestation journey is still my own. And on some level, that's true. But once you enter into partnership and you've signed up to co-create together, essentially, a life, whether it's something as simple as a meal, there needs to be some coming together that you are focused on the same desired outcome. Because your partner might want one meal and you might want something else for a different reason. And so there needs to be a continuous conversation to ensure that both people are focused on the same result. And while the result might feel differently to me, and it might feel differently for my partner, we're still on the same page, right? I was kind of amazed by how I would have something that I'm working on in my life and how wrong partnership, and not any disrespect to my mates, but wrong partnership could run interference to that. And you have to be very clear on who you are before you enter into a relationship at that point in your life, right? You're going to constantly be evolving and changing, and knowing that that person is going to be evolving and changing. And so with that awareness, moment by moment, you need to know who you are. And you can't pretend. We think, oh, it'll work out, right? No, it doesn't. If you aren't on the same page about the outcome, it doesn't just magically work out. You have to work at it. And if you're consistently not on the same page, it's going to be really difficult to get what you want. And you can't stay in that situation. The things that we want are like needs, right? I talked to you about that in a video. And you can't deny yourself a need. You got to get your needs met. And so I think it takes a lot of courage and maturity to have those discussions and acknowledge when something is not the right fit and leave it and do it earlier than later. I went on a date with a man recently, and he wants children, and he wants a family, and he, wants to go to PTA meetings and be a stay-at-home dad. And, we got along. He was a wonderful person. We had great chemistry, but we had different outcomes. I'm not looking for that. So I had to say, pretty early on, hey, we want different things. So I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she was like, you guys had that conversation within the first couple of dates? I'm like, yeah, we can't not. You can't pretend, right? You can hang out and in the romance phase for a long time and be high on love. But if your outcomes are different, inevitably that's going to come crashing down, and it's going to make it even harder to pivot out of it. So be truthful and be soulful and express who you are up front when it comes to romantic partnership. And then you can manifest the true relationship of your dreams. You don't have to make things more challenging, because people are going to grow and change, and that's going to take its own level of maturity and soulfulness to hold space while your partner is changing and you're changing. It's much easier to go through the natural human transformation process when you know that you are sharing a outcome, a desired outcome, the same desired outcome for the relationship, and being clear with your mate about what your outcomes are. So you might have a career thing that you're pursuing, but if it's running interference to an outcome that your partner has, you're going to have that discussion and determine if it's the right fit. And I do think that you can reach a place of togetherness in that process, but it does take work, and you can't put your head in the sand. You got to be authentic, and you have to be truthful with yourself first and foremost, and then you have to be willing to choose a mate that you can have that conversation with. And if you can't have that conversation, if there's a lot of secrecy and you can't be who you are, I know a lot of people get off on that, like, oh, I hide that from my wife. That's a recipe for disaster, right? Marriage, partnership is no different than any other relationship. And if you're hiding who you are from your best friend, uh, that's not probably the strongest relationship, right? And you deserve to have what you want, and you deserve to have something true and genuine and soulful. So I'm not saying you're wrong in any way, shape, or form, because we pick up a lot of this behavior from grown-ups who didn't know what they were doing anyway, and that they didn't know what they were doing because the generation above them didn't know. So we're all just figuring it out, and approach everything from a place of love and compassion and acceptance, but truthfulness. Know who you are. Be willing to have conversations with your partner where you guys are clear that you're on the same page and you have the same desired outcome for your relationship. So that's hopefully my last lesson in this series on manifesting love. If you are looking to manifest love, I can help you. I have lots of processes to help you create and attract the love that you want rapidly. You can find information on my services at intuitivecoachingwithamy.com. Take care.